If you guys are like me, then you spend a lot of time watching TV growing up. And I mean a lot of time. I'm talking before school, after school, while doing homework, instead of doing homework, while eating, before bed. Well, you get the idea. And I watched everything that was on, from cartoons to comedy to drama. That means that sometimes I watch stuff that wasn't really meant for me, but for more of an adult audience. And no, I'm not talking about porn. I'm talking about series and shows that weren't really targeted to kids, but instead aimed to a more mature audience dealing with subjects that people consider way too grown up to be understandable for children. But the fact that they weren't so tailored to be kids friendly was what made them so educational for me. Watching TV, I learned about stuff that teachers and parents were too afraid to talk about with kids. For example, I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. Back then, homosexuality was still taboo. So when people started coming out and be open about their sexuality, they were received mostly with hate, confusion, and fear. It was still a product of the unknown, the different, so it was understandable. But do you know how I reacted when one of my closest friends came out of the closet? Well, I didn't really react. I believe I just said, cool. Very tactful, I know. You see, for me, homosexuality wasn't new, it wasn't weird. I grew up watching shows like Will and Grace, a really funny sitcom where even though the main characters were gay, it didn't really matter, it was just another type of normal. And I didn't just learn about controversial issues watching TV. I learned about what I consider to be a good friend from shows like Scrubs and, well, Friends. They taught me not to be afraid to express how I feel with the ones closest to me, how to depend on them, but also how to be dependable. In shows like Seinfeld, a show considered to be about nothing, taught me how to laugh at stressful and awkward situations. I'm not an expert on the subject, so I can only talk based on personal experience, but I truly believe that watching those shows at such a young age, even though I shouldn't have, is what helped me become the person I am today. And I've noticed that a lot of people I have common interest with also grew up liking the same shows as me and tend to have similar views on life. So that's why I say that in a weird way, I was raised by television. What shows did you watch growing up? Did they affect you in any way? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, click the like button and subscribe for future content.